many of you have heard of this name, Lou Jing? Never heard of it? Maybe I need to do something. We have this song. Okay, this is actually she won the prize, but generate a lot of debate because there are people who saying that her skin is too dark, and she is a mix of African American father and a Shanghai mother. After this, there were a lot of racial slur against her. So what I'm trying to say here is if you look at the chapter on race, America has begun with this idea. Hey, somehow I don't know how to spell. Right? Is this how you spell assimilation? Assimilation, okay. Actually, there was a debate before Obama's visit to Shanghai, and people said Obama probably should address this issue because this singing contest was held in Shanghai, and all kinds of racial slur, in China, was originally from this particular episode. But if you look at the speech given by Obama yesterday with this town hall meeting yesterday in Shanghai, and lots of things he mentioned earlier about equality, about diversity in America. And that's something I think, when China is on the rise, we'll have to learn. I mean, you're not going to be an immigrant country, but at least you have to respect diversity. So this is also how America's racial relations evolve, right? In the very beginning, America is a society of assimilation. People went to America and became assimilated into this so-called WASP. Remember that WASP? W-A-S-P? What is a WASP? Forget already? WASP? What is WASP? White, Anglo, Saxon, Protestant, right? So that's how you become assimilated. And then, after 1 century, America has become not just the society of the white Americans. It has so many different races, different religion, and now it becomes a melting pot. Okay? And then, after the melting pot, in the 20th century, people began to talk about, you are part of the American society, but you are not going to lose all your racial, cultural features. You're still going to maintain those of your own, those cultural traditions of your own, different groups. So begin to have, we call the cultural pluralism. Means America has a society, in Jewish holidays, you see people who respect Jewish holidays. And then Chinese New Year, you will see American politicians will go to Chinatown and celebrate Chinese New Year. By the way, Chinese New Year is much more celebrated in the United States than in Taiwan. Okay, I don't know what happened to our Chinese New Year now. I think we have more celebration for the New Year's Eve, December 31st, than the Chinese New Year. We have more celebration maybe on Christmas Eve or Christmas time than our traditional Chinese New Year. But anyway, this is a society that will respect individual culture, tradition, and just accommodate everything. So that's what we call cultural pluralism, or sometimes people will call America a society of multiculturalism, diversity. Right? This is the word again in the book. Obama always talk about this. That speech also talk about many out of one, right? All those diversity. Mosaic. What is a mosaic? What is tapestry? Anyone? What is mosaic? What is tapestry? Mosaic is those color windows of the cathedral. You can see different color in one piece of window. Okay? Tapestry is a weaving things that you have so many different things, but together they make a beautiful picture. Have you had those kind of tapestry blanket? Like there's a, what do we call it? A square? The one I was really touched one time is by one of my friends. She somehow cut off all her daughters' baby and young kids' T-shirt and then make a tapestry when she graduated. and make it into a blanket. All different ages, pictures, and put that on a blanket. So that's tapestry. You understand? 织锦布. So that's the American society, where China is very so-called harmonious, but also very what do we call? What's the word? I think it was the best word. Trying to be not unified. The word will be more like standardized, more like people follow one particular way of doing things. So that's the difference. Again, they have this town hall meeting in Shanghai. How many of you believe that students are not pre-screened? Of course, they are all pre-screened by the party. The party chooses those students, and then they prepare the question. They ask, but how many of you have followed the town hall meeting at all? No? Partial. Okay. What question do they raise? I think the very first one definitely is given by the party. Ridiculous one, I know. The one from a Taiwan businessman, right? What question did the Taiwan businessman ask? Okay, firearms. I think it's okay. I don't think we get firearms. I think we get weapons. Okay, firearms is like a pistol or AK-47, but we get a lot of military weapons procurement. Yes. So the Americans selling weapons to Taiwan. Oh, okay. I think you put it very nice. The businessman basically say, I'm doing business here in China. I'm making good money here. I'm doing fine. But I worry about U.S. keep selling arms to Taiwan, which might jeopardize the cross-strait relations. Wow. A Taiwan businessman do not want us to buy more weapons so that it will improve cross-strait relations. Of course, we might have those wacko in China, but they pick this particular one, right? Just to say, oh, Taiwan also has a voice in this town hall meeting, but I don't think that represents, even the Chinese bloggers do not believe that represents the Taiwan's view. They will say, oh, yeah, this is Taiwan's view, but I don't think this is really Taiwanese people who want that, all right? But at least got represented. The first question they ask is, Chicago and Shanghai, sister cities, what do you think? What can we do to improve the sister cities' relations? Bad question. Don't you think that's a bad question? Like asking a president about Shanghai. Of course, Chicago is his hometown, but still, I don't think that works. But the one which gave a lot is Obama's speech. The last question, they said, oh, you won the Nobel Prize. One question is about the Nobel Prize. The other one follow up with that, saying, okay, you have been very successful, but what kind of education, what have you done to earn this? Obama said two things, right? One is keep improving, never be satisfied with yourself. You always want to put up your best. But also he said, help others. I think this is very important for China to learn about this altruism. Obama's own experience in Chicago, helping the disadvantaged groups. So anyway, this is an interesting one. But if we go on to look at the chapter on race, Rosa Parks, Obama in the chapter mentioned about attending a funeral of her. All kinds of people went to her funeral, but she is not someone very big. She is a seamstress, right? What is it? What is that? What kind of work does she do? Did she do before? Basically, in Taiwan, what we will call 女裁缝, or what would be a better translation? Anyone has a better translation than 女裁缝 or 纺织 in the Mirror Dictionary. Anyway, she is from the lower class, right? Lower level of the profession. But what happened? She changed American history. How? You didn't read the chapter at all? I thought you would be reading this chapter now. You know, we finished this chapter. We finished the domestic politics of America. So racial issues. She was the one who refused to sit in the refused to move from white only seats. Okay, in the bus. She felt that this is not right. You know, why do we have to have separate? But so if we look at Obama's speech, this is Yahoo. This is not Google, huh? Is it the same? Google and Yahoo not the same, huh? Can I do this? Can I add a Google here? Will it give me Google? No? Okay. I'll try. Because he, in the speech, does mention about the racial issue, but also point out one thing very important here. Okay, this is the text. Okay, if you have time, you should do it. And okay, again, this started with the United States, right here, around here. The United States, by comparison, young nation, culture determined by many different immigrants who have come to our shore. And then talk about those documents, founding documents, Constitution, Bill of Rights, and Declaration of Independence. And again, all men and women created equal. And then he talked about principles and Lincoln and Martin Luther King. And he also talked about immigrants from China and Kenya. And then here, I think he talked about the race. Let me see where. And he said, who 50 years ago in America, Obama himself would not be able to vote, but now he's the president. Where is that? The one? Okay, let me search. Very important idea. Am I keeping separate here? This is separate. What happened? Okay, it's either in this speech or in the speech he gave in Japan. He talked about the minority race, the blacks. They were suffering a period of time, even though there was emancipation, women's rights were given, voting, but there was a period of separate but equal. Okay, and again, this is Rosa Parks. Separate. I gave you a seat, but it's in the same bus. It should be. This is equal. Of course, it's not equal, right? Why not? Don't you want to sit in the front? If you sit in the back, you kind of get dizzy. But I don't know why all the young students always sit in the back, because they don't want to yield the seat if they sit in the front, right? Is that what happened to you now? You go on the bus, everybody's rushed to the back, because if you sit in the front, then someone weaker, someone older come up. I have to get up, right? And some of you do not want to yield the seat. So right now, what I am doing, is I'm going to grab those seats in the front. And then, if someone weaker than me, older than me, I will yield my seat. Because I guarantee my seat will not be taken by some selfish young people. Huh? Okay. But is it? Of course, it's not equal, but it's equal. And, it's in the same bus. So separate but equal. That myth sustained until 1960. Obama, I think, has every right to talk about all this. And he also talked about this mosaic. He said he grew up, right? His father from Kenya, his mother from Kansas, his half-sister, Indonesian and Caucasian, and then her her brother-in-law from his brother-in-law, a Chinese Canadian, right? So he said, when my family got together, it's like United Nations. I think you should look at Obama's family getting together. Really, black, Asian, Caucasian, and also his half-sister looked more like a Hispanic, but he's not. She's not. She's a mix of Indonesian and Caucasian. So this is the racial issue here when we talk about all this. And people think you will not have those we call white only or separate but equal idea anymore. Wrong. Why? Obama said in the book, right, one time he went to the south part of Illinois, in this town called Cairo. By the way, it's the same name, Cairo, but not in Egypt. Okay? In this Cairo, a young man went to a private club. And nice food and nice people, but then he noticed there are about 50 people inside the restaurant, not a single black. And this is a town having a lot of black. So why no black? And, people said, well, this is just, a tradition. I mean, this is very natural. They never, were allowed here. And this is 2004 in America. You still have what we call segregation. Separating people. So this kind of segregation is why race remain a problem in the United States. Okay? Sometimes people do not want to talk about it, but it's still there. So racial issues, if you look at, you said, well, people cannot vote, right? 50 years ago. But now everybody can vote. There's no separate but equal, no segregation. Wrong. Okay, I'll give you another example of the separate but not equal. Right? Separate but not equal. When students are, when you cannot separate students, some of the school have to become, we call, racial integration. 50 years ago, about 55 years ago, some of the universities in the South, University of Mississippi, University of Alabama, do not have black students. Okay, it is through the civil rights movement, eventually they were admitted to become students of those universities. And then some of the schools, remember we talked about the schools, have to be integrated. And then what happened? People said, hey, we have this neighborhood school system, so why don't we just move out of this black neighborhood? And then in the suburb, they began to have a new all-white suburb, and then they have a segregated school already. So we have we call busing, right? You bus students from one district across the town to another one to achieve some kind of integration, which is bad because why wasting time, wasting gasoline, busing students, but look good, okay? It's almost like students who, especially elementary school students, who live in 新生国小 area, school district. Anyone know about this place? Right across 大安森林公园 in Taipei. There is a good elementary school there, beautiful school. But if you live there and your daughter or son want to go to that school, people say, wait a second, does the father own any property here? No, I rent the house for 30 years. I'm sorry, you're not qualified. Your kids cannot go to the school if the father does not own, okay, a apartment or housing there. And how expensive they are right now. The old apartment costs $650,000 a 平。哦，那个地方最便宜65万一平。Now, so all the rich people kids are going to that school. So if I complain, I would say, wait a second, all the kids, they do not represent Taiwan. All those kids will not know what happened outside the world. So I'm going to ship some kids from the poor neighborhood in Taipei, from maybe outside Sanchong, and then move them. And then move all those kids from, by lottery from Da'an Senlin Gongyuan area, and then move them to Sanchong for elementary school to achieve some kind of integration. Do you think that will work in Taiwan? No? But that's a big problem, don't you think? We have a elementary school does not reflect the society at all. Maybe all the carts outside. Oh, they have a long line, for what do we call? Picking up area for kids. It means all the, expensive cars, BMW, all those cars are coming to pick up kids, right? That's not the correct one. But anyway, we have that. So America also have this we call segregated schools. Or neighborhood. So here we have this big racial problem in America, even if you want to have integration. But America has received more immigrants, from Latin America, from Asia, and now even from Middle East. So minority will continue percentage of minority will continue to grow. They said by 2050, 40 years from now, the white in America will become minority. Okay, so this is a continuing project. Okay, in the making, a new racial relations always evolve. So here, why Democratic Party has attracted more minorities, Hispanic, African American, and Latin Americans especially, because they look after the rights and some of the basic civil liberties of the minority group. So Democratic Party was able to attract those minorities. Also, those people, the programs, okay, not just the rights, but social welfare programs, taking good care of those disadvantaged groups, that also help. Okay, any question on this race issue? I think we will not touch for the midterm. But the one I sent you, I also sent you 2 sample exams this morning. I sent you, one is from America's Civil Liberties, I think. One is from American Politics. So they are not going to be the same because I didn't use the same textbook. But it gave you a feel of the format of what you can expect from the exam. So hopefully you can review that. And do you have any questions from the review? No? Everybody's doing well. Okay, I'm not going to be here next week. I'm going to go to New Orleans to attend a meeting there. Strangely, America is having a lot of conferences now in New Orleans. Why? Why New Orleans? The chapter also says something about New Orleans. The chapter also said a lot of things about New Orleans. Some people even think the reason the hurricane, what's that name? Hurricane? 龙卷风, but which one hit New Orleans in 2005? Katrina, right? And some people said because New Orleans is a predominantly African American city, that's the reason Republicans said, hey, we don't have to take care of them. They're voting for Democrats. So Bush, purposely said, oh, wow, thank God, we have this natural disaster, and now we can redevelop the neighborhood, building new things. It's a little bit like in Taiwan, some of the neighborhood they would not vacate it, and then always, what do we find? Oh, fire! 台湾不是常常有拆迁不肯拆，忽然发现有一把火烧掉了。New Orleans almost like, did the Republican Party, actually induce the hurricane and wipe out some of the neighborhood so they can build, high rise? We don't know. But New Orleans right now, the reason I mentioned about this is almost like a lot of conference are going to New Orleans to help local economy. Saying, hey, this town, this city is getting rebuilt, and please come and see yourself, help. So I recommend our government to have all the academic conference in Taiwan to go to Xiaoling Village. Okay, that will help, right? The National Science Council, 国科会, said, if you want to apply to hold, for funding for holding a scholarship, we will give you 100% if it is held in Xiaoling. If it's held in Taipei, 10%. Right? 新竹 maybe 20%. If you go to the further south, we'll get more funding. But New Orleans, again, it's a very touching racial issue. Sometimes it can blow up. In America, all the time, if we look at why there's such a high racial tension. Last time we mentioned death penalty. Why death penalty? Some people worry about death penalty, think death penalty should be abolished because death penalty actually wrongly kill someone. Okay, most of them are African American. Okay, so that might not be the best. Again, death penalty is one. Okay, other issues are inherently you have problem. We have this what do we call DWI in Taiwan? What do we call DWI? Driving while intoxicated. So in America, DWB is what? Driving while black. What does that mean? If you're driving a BMW, but if you're a black, that must be a stolen car. Okay, police will stop people more often, okay, than a white driving a BMW. Arabic American, I also mentioned before, FWA, flying while Arab, right? Flying first class, oh, terrorist. 阿拉伯人飞机头等舱那一定是恐怖分子 right? So that's what do we call racial stereotype. Now, we have all those Asians in America. One big problem is they see an Asian, they say, oh, go help the other kids with your math. Okay, not always. I mean, there are Asians who are not very good with math, right? But the expectation is you are supposed to be good with math. So that's what we call stereotype, right? And then the stereotype in the race will become a racial profile. Racial, what do you mean by profile? Racial profile is like trying to define a particular racial groups, what kind of things they like to do. So what are some of the things they more likely, so if anything happened for the police, they have better clue. Okay, so for example, in Hsinchu, I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with Hsinchu, but do you have Hsinchu here? Some of the eateries, eating place that populated always by more Jiaoda student than Tsinghua. If you want to find Tsinghua student, you go to this KTV. If you want to find Jiaotong University student, you go to another KTV. Do you have that here? No? Or do you have anything that separates you from Jiaoda? I mean, like, if I look at the students, like, oh, this one with slipper must be from Jiaoda, right? 是这样的吗? That's the only way I can do the profiling. Or if someone who has like me, more bigger than me, okay, belly, and then a Caucasian sitting in a Dunkin' Donuts eating glazed donut, and with coffee. So what is he? Must be a cop, right? Only the American cop will go to the Dunkin' Donuts and then eat really sweet and fat. I would say fat in Cantonese term. 广东话讲说好肥，是很油的意思啊，不是很胖啊，好肥。So those are, Dunkin' Donuts, and already should be in an exercise room, but still eating donut. There must be a cup. So those we call profiling. What would they do? Where are they going? What kind of things they like? Easily you can do that. But is that good or bad? Police said, oh, it is good because based on those clues, we know where to get people. But again, is that going to be a stereotype? Okay? If there's any kind of, let's say, drug stealing in Chinatown. Okay, so you know some police will go to certain triad we call. 中文叫什么？三什么？你们没看了一些李连杰电影吗？叫什么会？三 triad T 啊？三合会啊 ？OK， 三合会 ，right？ Those must be involved in drug dealing. Okay? You go to all those Chinese restaurants. You think every restaurant is a front to cover the drug stealing. That would be racial profiling. Okay? Or smuggling of people. You know, like if you happen to be from Fujian, 你一定是人蛇 right? Okay, that's what I think. You know, that's the racial profiling is when once you have this stereotype image, right? You know, people look at Italian, oh, mafia. Huh? So that will be the problem. Okay? So you have to get rid of this, I think, bias before you make a judgment. So very important in terms of racial relation in the United States. Also here, I think he mentioned something about the diversity, the core principle. Here, this word. Okay, if you look at this part. Obama is very difficult. He is trying to find something. He wants to impress the Chinese. He said, we do not, right, seek. Okay. He said America love all this principle, but he said we do not seek to impose any system of government on any other nation. Means, yeah, we like our democracy, but we're not going to force China to have democracy. But also said we also do not believe that the principle that we stand for are unique to our nations. And those freedom of expression and worship, China doesn't have freedom of speech or freedom of religion, of access to information and political participation, we believe are universal rights. Okay, now here is Obama contradicting himself, saying these are universal rights, but we're not going to impose on China. Is he discriminating against Chinese? Saying, you know, yeah, this is universal, but you know, Chinese, you're of a lower race. You don't need this. Don't you think he is saying this, everybody should have it, but oh, Chinese, okay, you're fine. You don't need freedom of expression. You don't need freedom of, you know, worship. Is Obama discriminating against Chinese? You don't think so? Okay.
You're not going to impose him like you have to restore democracy in the country. You choose what you do. But you just say that it's universal rights like you have freedom.
But this is a big problem here for other countries, right? Countries like China say, not all this are absolute. You know, China will say, hey, this Western type of democracy, not suitable for China. We have our own way of doing things. So, is there any of this universal? Or is culturally particular? Certain culture, for example, Muslim culture, women with veils, women, you know, limited participation. So should we change that as well? Or should we respect the cultural particularity? You should. But then why are you advocating all this freedom of expression? Are you contradicting yourself? I'm just asking this question because here, you know, maybe in America, like I mentioned before, kids with different background will be good. Right? Like my son coming home and requesting me to find something else other than Chinese blood. My son came home and said, what's wrong with us? Nothing else? He said, okay, let's dig. and finally dig some 132 of British, he was happy. But China might think everything pure is better. So can we say diversity is good, always good? Can we say, freedom of speech in China is always good?
I think he was using a political, wise way to treat China and that fact. What it should be. He said we do not seek to impose our system, but we think that those rights are universal.
Okay.
It's a wise way to treat people and that.
Okay.
But it's not competitive.
But I think he's discriminating China. When it's almost like yeah, we can have those, but you don't need this. You're from different culture, so almost like depriving the Chinese in Shanghai or in other parts of the city, right? And the most ironic thing is what he got questioned from the internet, he respond, but this whole town hall meeting was not broadcasted on the internet in China. Okay? Only Shanghai area can, yes? Yeah, but right now, can you download the whole meeting? No. I have tried. Only, few parts. You don't have, this is something we should have the entire, right? In an entirety, but it's not. So Obama is, I think, asked this question: if China is so confident, so advanced, so strong right now, what are you afraid? Obama talked about the internet. He said, "Yeah, sometimes I would like to, I don't want to see all the criticism against me. If we don't have this, freedom of access, all kinds of information, but." I think this is good for America. So the question here is, why would China not capable of receiving all the criticism? If China is doing so well, where is your confidence? And some people earlier I mentioned about Lou Jing, because there are people writing saying Obama should address this issue. Now, would this be a marginal issue in China, or this would be something like open eyes in China? Like China also has to look at itself. You have different minorities and, different kinds of peoples are in China. China love to use, I don't know why, they love to use chocolate. There's village in Guangdong or Guangzhou area, they call chocolate district. Where a lot of African living, they call it chocolate district, 巧克力区. Is that segregation or what? As well in China. So this is a big thing I think we need to learn more when we talk about racial relation in the United States. What happened to the other parts of the world? But at least United States is providing, and I think it's always creating new idea. When black were discriminated before, and then you have this we call affirmative action to help them in admission of schools or going to work. What other country also follow? South Africa also have affirmative action. So from the racial relation in the United States, other countries can also learn. Okay, we'll stop here for a while. Okay, it's here. I don't know why. When I searched, it's not there. But here, talk about America's. Have all these principles, core principles, and here said we fought a very painful civil war and freed a portion of our population from slavery. That's the African Americans. And took time for women to be extended the right to vote. Do you remember which constitutional amendment that gave women right to vote. 吴玉东. Yeah. Do you remember? Hey, it's going to be tested next week. The right to vote for women. Women finally had the right to vote in America. Which one? The 19th Amendment, right, of the Constitution. And free population from slavery, 13th Amendment, right? And then worker right to organize, and immigrant from different corners of the globe to be fully embraced. Even after they were free, African American persevered through conditions that were separate and not equal. Okay? Why? Earlier I said separate but equal. But people said, no, if you separate people, then it's not equal. Okay, you always have to think about this. You say, I'll give you the same kind of conditions, but simply you cannot be with us. Separate, but not equal. I'll give you one example. If you begin to work and you go to work for a company, the company have a lunch meal together. Okay, if you happen to be the only female in the group, they say, oh, let's go to this restaurant. But actually, we don't want a woman to be, on the table. But you can sit right next to us in the other table. You can order the same food. Is that equal? Okay, separate, but equal or not equal. Okay, so you can figure out you are not allowed on the men's table. You can only eat at the other table. But they said we give you can order the same food as we order. If we are ordering, let's say I don't want to use this now, New York steak. Okay, now maybe New York steak is very cheap right now, right? With all the beef controversy, who knows? But then you can also order a New York steak, the same price, separate but equal. Okay, think about that. So African American fought through that before winning full and equal rights. And he talked about the principle, Martin Luther King, and then here, this. Why they make it so difficult? How do you do this? Okay. Here says why America will always speak for those principles to the world, and those principles, those rights should be available to all people, including ethnic and religious minority. Okay, whether they are in the United States, China, or any nation. So religious minority, 法轮功. Ethnic minority and religious minority, Uyghurs. You know who Uyghurs are? Uyghurs of Xinjiang. 维吾尔族. Okay. Tibetans, right? Freedom of religion, ethnic and religious minority. So America, remember, openness to other countries, respect for different cultures, commitment to international law, and faith in the future. Okay, America talk about diversity. Obama talk about diversity. And I think this is a great question from one Shanghai student. Shanghai student said, you talk about, diversity in America. You respect diversity. Do you respect diversity in the world? Means there are people who do not agree with you, who do not share the same value. Then are you going to respect those? Okay, this is a great question. Let's see Where is that question? Oh, here. Look at this student. This student said, Mr. President, good afternoon. I'm from Tongji University. I want to cite a saying from Confucius. It's always good to have a friend coming from afar. 有朋自远方来，不亦乐乎? Okay. In Confucius' book, there's a great saying which said, the harmony is good. 中文是什么？和谐，以人为美，不是吧？以和为贵 ，OK。But also we uphold differences， 有这样子吗？下面是什么？以和为不是这个以和为贵，然后下面是什么？求同存异，这是 This is so political. This is cross strait talk 啊，两岸谈判的吧？哪来？孔夫子有讲过求同存异吗？I don't think so. But then China advocates a harmonious world. 和谐世界啊。We know the United States developed a culture, feature, diversity. I want to know what will your government do to build a diversified world? Look, this is a good question. You know, you talk about diversity. Then we have a diverse world. And with different culture, what will you do to respect the different cultures and history of other countries? And what kinds of cooperation we can conduct in the future? Okay, so Obama said, oh, this is an excellent point. Almost every student said, oh, this is an excellent point. This is a good question, huh? And then he began to talk about, you know, America, yes, a very diverse culture. He gave you, you know, himself, father from Kenya, mother from Kansas, sister half Indonesian, married to a Chinese person from Canada, and all that. So he began to talk about United States believe certain things, but again, will not try to impose. So Obama, I think, does have a big problem here. Some of the Shanghai students know you're advocating diversity. If you advocate diversity, which means you have to respect. Okay? It's like the same thing in Taiwan. If we believe in diversity, then we have to believe in different political views. Whether you favor independence of Taiwan, or you favor unification of Taiwan, or you favor Taiwan is the fifth island of Japan, or 51st states of the U.S., or you favor a federation with the Philippines. Huh? No? I love that idea. You know, I think maybe we will have highest rate of the country being hit by typhoon if we combine with the Philippines. 我们会创造就全世界台风袭击这个频率最高的国家。Okay, so that's a record. I think we can hold. But whatever thoughts you have, people have to respect diversity. Okay, so that's the part I think it's very interesting. And Obama, very smart. He didn't use other diversity issues. He just used one issue, women. He just talked about women should be treated equal everywhere. And you know, it's almost like this is one issue you're going to do. So he used the example of women here. Where is the woman? Okay. Okay, here. Belief, for example, hold true when it comes to the treatment of women. A very interesting discussion with Mayor of Shanghai. He told Obama many professions now in China, actually more women enrolled in college than men. They are doing very well, and you know, a good progress. Turn out that you look at development around the world, best indicators is whether a country does well is how well it educates the girls and how it treats women. So tapping into the talents and energy of women and giving them education typically do better economically than countries that they don't. But obviously, he said, different culture have different attitude about men and women. And later he said, if you look at women, talk to women in America, there are still people who think men have a lot of old-fashioned idea about the role of women. So, continue to solve. We don't claim, okay, this is the part. He said, we don't claim that we have solved all problems, but need to speak out. So, racial issues, minority issue, women issue, some of them are core values. And in the text, he kept mentioning, different groups in America, Latinos, Asians. He talked about the different neighborhoods in different parts of the United States. Puerto Ricans are making America a very unique. Okay, this multiculturalism, don't you think, is the strength of America? If Obama went to China, right, starting with a Chinese idiom, like last time Hillary Clinton went to China, Hillary Clinton used what? 同舟共济. And this time Obama went to China, what did he say? 见往之来. What is 见往之来? 有这样子的中文吗？What does that mean? If you study the past carefully, you will know the future. Or like other people who work in China, but they are Chinese Americans, right? So there are so many Chinese Americans in the United States, and whenever there is a need, they can bring up a lot of issues helping America dealing with China. When America is fighting a war in Iraq, in Afghanistan, if you have Arabic Americans who believe in Islam but still willing to fight on behalf of America, don't you think that war has become more just than not? So this diversity in America, they can always send people. If you look at Americans' ambassador to Africa, a lot of them are African American. Will make African countries feel very good that you send a brother to be, a representative here. Look at AIT in Taiwan, American Institute in Taiwan. The former deputy director is Chinese American, okay, and there are a lot of Taiwanese Chinese Americans in the AIT. Like which loyalty they are. I mean, are they loyal to Taiwan? No, they are not. I mean, even though some of them have relatives in Taiwan, okay, but they are Americans now. But American can send people, of the same color, of the same cultural background to their country, and then help work. So this is the diversity that becomes a strength in America. Different cultural, different racial, ethnic groups become part of the. So America is a recipient of all the diverse culture, and then can utilize to further its interest. Especially today, more and more Arabic Americans are involved in the public service in America now. Okay. And in the textbook also talk about this different hate crimes. Okay, so this is where I want to ask you. Against certain racial groups. Okay, now, if today in Taiwan, if I want to burn a former president's image in Guantian, but claim this is freedom of expression, can I do that? 有没有可能我今天去台南县 关田乡，然后去烧陈水扁的肖像，说这个人贪腐。但是言论自由 ，right? Freedom of speech. Or I'll go to a 大溪的眷村 and burn 蒋经国's picture. Or I'll go to certain, places and then, or go to 中和, no 永和叫什么街？永和的那个韩国街叫什么 ？Anyone? Nobody is from 永和。永和 suddenly lost that. Okay, there's a Korean street, and then you burn the picture of Pei Yongjun. Oh, no, actually, you're going to be killed by all the women in Taiwan, right? But there are certain things that are very sensitive to each race or culture. Can you do this kind of, we call hate crime? Like the KKK, you know the KKK? KKK is not related to YKK. YKK, you know. It's our zipper, right? 我们台湾还有没有？现在还有没有 YKK 拉链？还有吗 ？Okay, but what is KKK? Ku Klux Klan, right? When I was a student in Indiana, there is a town famous for Ku Klux Klan's activities called Kokomo. I thought it is a city from Japan. So you have Ku Klux Klan, who we call the white supremacist. They believe American culture had been contaminated. White supremacists believe white people are the best. Okay, they do not want other races to be involved. And again, this is not just the American view. I remember one of my father's friends. One time, I was in Hong Kong at his apartment eating the dinner, and then he received a phone call, and then he laid down his chopsticks and would not talk and would not eat. So I asked him, I said, Uncle, what happened? He said, my daughter-in-law just gave birth to another daughter. Okay. So what happened? He had 10 kids, 3 boys, right? 7 daughters. And his 3 boys, 1 have a girl. And then, decided the wife's physical health cannot have another pregnancy. So end here. And then the second son have 1 daughter and then another daughter. The third son actually has a son, but he married a Canadian, a Caucasian, so he's not pure. Okay, so I said, so this daughter-in-law in Taiwan, bear all the responsibility of keeping the bloodline, the pure bloodline, because that one is mixed. That one is not doesn't count. Okay, so this is what we call racial supremacists. Is you don't want to have that. You don't want to have another race involved. So not just African American, but also Hispanic and Asian. So they have this hate crime. What they do is sometimes they will burn a cross on the lawn of an African family. America, there's always house and then lawn area, right? And then if you have a cross, usually it's where you put a sign to for sale for the house. But some people burn a white cross That's intimidation. Okay. But interestingly, in America, you have a group called ACLU, American Civil Liberty Union. People love this organization. And this organization defended the Ku Klux Klan, saying they have a right to express their view. Okay, so again, some of this hate crime, hating people, shouting, making slurs, criticizing other races, using very bad names. In America, sometimes it's protected, but people are also very familiar with terms that you should not use if you're running for political office, right? So suddenly, you cannot call Japanese Japs. Huh? So you don't call Japanese Japs because that's a bad term. You don't call Chinese what? Chinks. Okay, that's a bad term. And you don't call African American Negro, or even you don't call them blacks today, right? You call them African American. You call Asian American. You call Latino is okay. Hispanic is okay. I don't know why Hispanic, Latino, Latin Americans are all okay. Okay, but here some of the terms we call politically correct, right? So race is truly a sensitive issue. Okay, some people say, some African American would say, it's okay to call me black. But other people say no. So it's very confusing to a lot of people. So should Obama be considered African American or just a black American? It depends on how he can accept. If he doesn't like to be called Black American, fine. Then we call him African American. Okay. So this is the politically correct, and versus whether you supposed to call people's name. Certain groups do not want to be called their names, and also the stereotype earlier we mentioned. Right? So certain professions, do we need to open up the system? For example, the sports. Right now, do you think we need to recruit Asian American into American basketball, NBA basketball? Do we need Asian Americans, to like tokenly playing for some teams? Right now, they don't need that because they have Yao Ming already. Right? But Yao Ming is not American, but I think that will help. I'll give you one example. I always suspect this college called Duke University. Do you know Duke University? Duke University always have some pretty good white players in basketball game. Okay, like, some people will say, "Ooh, is basketball game a black people's game?" Because you don't have that move, huh? Now, white men can jump. Have you seen that movie? There's a movie called White Men Can Jump, Cannot Jump. Huh? So you have that stereotype. You almost want to protect, making sure. You almost want a Asians in some sports. You almost want African American in a physics department to represent there is hope here in this particular program. So again, if America is a merit society based on merit, everyone has opportunity. Do you think they need to go so far to recruit for the purpose of diversity. You understand my question? Diversity look good, but should we recruit people only for the purpose of diversity, but ignoring the merits, the qualification? Okay. One example: if I have a bank in Chinatown, should I hire a Chinese even though he or she has lesser qualification than other applicants? Why? Why is that the case? Don't you think I should have based on merits? If, for example, if you require Chinese language ability, if an African American happened to speak Chinese and had better qualification, why don't we hire the better qualified person? Why do we have to hire Chinese? Any reason? Can anyone give me the reason why we can justify for hiring a Chinese with lesser qualification? The same will go like Korean have been accused opening stores in black neighborhood, but never hire local black kids to work in their stores. So it would be wise for the Koreans to hire a black kids in the neighborhood. Why? Okay, from the Chinatown, you hire someone who is Chinese background. You say, oh, well, the other ethnic group ethnic person, applicant, can also speak Chinese, but the customer will feel happier, feel closer. Maybe I don't know, to have a Chinese there, or the customers will feel, hey, in our community, they actually send someone. One of our own, so it make me feel better. The Korean hiring an African American in an African American neighborhood, people are saying, hey, they are helping our kids getting a job. Maybe we need to buy something from this store. And people say his friend might want to visit. So it's not just public relation, but it's actually good for your business. So you say, so what? He is a little bit slow in counting the money. All Americans are very slow in counting the money. When you go to the American store, you say, okay, this is 73 cents. They say, oh, okay, I'll give you 74, 75, 76, 78, 79, 80, 90, 100. Okay, I'll give you back, right? Okay, it's very difficult. They don't do math. Okay, and one time, I buy a lot of things, I pay the exact change. And they said, wow, you need to work here. We don't have this kind of math ability. But so what? It's a little bit slow. When I went to Hong Kong, I felt a little bit embarrassed because they calculate the thing so fast and then they give you the money, like, here is your change. Okay, I dare not even count the change, like, take the money out, right? But even if they're slow in counting, then, the Korean workers, but that PR work, public relation, that goodwill is actually rational decision to help. So that's why Obama, I think, always talk about people hiring. They are in Chicago, he talked about the town, the restaurant, hiring people, minority groups, and help them. And that's very important in terms of promoting a racial harmony. Bank, let's say, what is the bank? Huifeng, right? HSBC. Okay. Why is such an acronym so hard to pronounce? HSBC. Okay, I will next time call this high standard Humboldt Point, right? HSBC. You know BC from Canada, BC? British Columbia. But Chinese translation there is called 卑诗. 卑诗. 卑诗省. I love that. Like our BC. 卑诗. BC. Okay. BC province. They call 卑詩. 卑詩啊. 我都係from卑詩啊. Okay, 我都從 BC 來的. BC, not DC. Okay, so here, 匯豐, if they're opening a branch in a African American neighborhood, don't you think they should hire someone from those neighborhood, or someone of similar background, so that will help you to generate business? Or if you say, oh, we are a Hong Kong bank, so we're going to use all people who are originally from Hong Kong. You probably should not do business in that neighborhood. Okay, so this is, yes, it is affirmative action sometimes, but it's also good for business. For me, that's not affirmative action. Affirmative action in Chinese today we translate as 平权法. Strangely, we never touch this issue on Obama. It's almost like a taboo on Obama. Now, my question. You're familiar with a little bit about Obama. What high school he graduated from? Where? You don't read him? I thought you know him now. I mean, like inside out. Too bad he didn't shoot a basket in Shanghai. But he did mention, he said, oh, it's a pity I didn't have time to watch Shanghai Sharks. 上海是叫什么？上海的那个篮球队叫鲨鱼。它是 Sharks 啊，上海 Sharks。上海的直篮叫什么？有没有人看？都没有人看。Okay, you all know Yao Ming is from Shanghai. So at least, that's... But this is a taboo. Affirmative action. There is no mentioning of Obama. From high school, where did he go next? College, where? His first 2 years of college is accidental. Where is accidental? Accidental is the opposite of accidental? No. Occidental is the opposite of what? Oriental. Occidental. Look like accidental, huh? It's opposite of Oriental. So how do you translate Occidental College? 西方学院, right? Now, that's normal, right? You go to a Occidental College in Los Angeles, 2 years, and then after 2 years, he transferred to which university? The Ivy League one. Which one? He's undergraduate. He finally got a degree from there. No, he got his law degree from Harvard. Another one. No. Columbia. By the way, he's the first Columbia graduate to become president. You think all of Columbia, long history, right? The first Columbia graduate to become president. Now, so he went to 2 years of Columbia for finish his bachelor degree, and then he went to Harvard. He went back to Chicago to work, and then go back to Harvard for law school. Okay, nobody asked this question, is whether he was admitted to Columbia or to Harvard Law School. Is there any affirmative action involved? In other words, was he admitted to Columbia University because he was black. Columbia wanted to create a diverse student body. Harvard Law School, some of the great American law school, medical school, they all have vacancies, or we call almost like slots, or reserved for minorities, so that you will have minority in the medical school, in the law school. Somehow nobody asked this question, whether Obama was admitted as affirmative action kid. Because if he was admitted based on merits, fine. But if he was admitted based on affirmative action, then we will say, what a successful program affirmative action is. Look, he was not qualified before, but he got encouraged. Now look at him. Where is he? How do you view this? Why we have been silent on this one? In other words, 他不晓得是不是繁星计划的啊 ？Okay, Tsinghua University. Now, do you have problem with 繁星计划? Or do you like 繁星? Or yourself is a 繁星计划kid? Okay, what's 繁星? They call STAR program, right? A STAR is almost like 明星计划. I don't know why you call, but affirmative action is the STAR, the 繁星计划in Taiwan. And now, we also have affirmative action program, especially for Aboriginal kids, right? They will be admitted to university based on some of the preference. Use that word, remember, preference. Some university, I don't know about Tsinghua. I'm not very familiar with Tsinghua. Do you have quota for a certain group? Like here, does Tsinhua's 动力机械系有没有特别保留至少要有5个女生的名额，还是10个 ？No, you don't protect women. But what happens if one year every admittee is a male student? Do you have that happening before? 没有。你清华有哪个系没有收到女生的 ？No, every okay. But what happened if Harvard Law School, based just on merits 1 year, happened to have no African American? That looked bad, right? So, okay, so here is Obama. Why don't we put him there? But first they thought Obama. That's maybe a Middle Eastern name. Who knows? Or Obama, 小兵. Hey, we need a Japanese. Anyone learn Japanese here? 有没有人学日文? Why O can be big and can be small? Why Osaka is 大阪 and Obama is 小兵? In 你们没有人学日文? O is big, O small, O big. Okay, but anyway, this is a question I want to find out whether Obama was an affirmative action kid or not. If he was, because he went to Harvard in the early 80s, in mid 80s actually. He went to Columbia in the late, I think early 80s, late 70s. So at that time, America did have an affirmative action program. And he didn't mention about this at all. So we would not know. But affirmative action create a big problem. 2 things, right? One, what happened if you're truly qualified? Like Obama might be truly qualified as in, to apply for Harvard Law School. But people look at Obama and say, oh, it must be coming in from affirmative action program. So it's a little bit like some student coming from, I cannot believe this, in Taiwan, in Tsinghua. Most of you graduate from excellent high school, right? So if someone graduates from 竹东高中, must be 繁星计划, right? 竹东高中, I cannot believe. Last time they have one student coming into this university. It's the first time in 5 years. What's wrong here? You know, 竹东, so close, yet so far. Huh? What happened? Okay, but if he actually got in, and people say, oh, 竹东来的, oh, must be 繁星. No, based on my own merits. But no, it's okay to tell me, you know, that's fine. So, what happened to Obama? If he actually based on merits, we don't know. Okay, that's one problem. With all the affirmative action, people got in because of merits, but nobody believed he's on merits. So that's not fair to those minorities. And then what happened to those people who are not part of the discrimination process? They have done, you know, no discrimination at all in their life, but now simply because they are white, their quota have been taken away by those preference given to minority groups. So they have been reverse, we call reverse discrimination. And then the third question come out is, okay, we know there was some injustice in the past, but how long does this program need to continue before, you know, the past wrong have been truly addressed? So, for example, Taiwan, we said we need 繁星计划, right? So after a while, you know, people will send their kids like, whoa, you know, this high school in Nantou, 信义乡, hey, if I become number one, I can go to Tsinghua. I purposely send my kids to Nantou 信义乡, 这个叫什么信义高中好了, okay, 然后清华, 哈, 你要收我繁星计划一个, right? So I'm not going to compete here. But when do you think the 繁星计划 should end, or it should never end? Okay? The same thing with affirmative action. You know, with Obama being president, don't you think affirmative action probably should come to an end? Which means, if, okay, I want to use this word. Please help me to get a good translation from your dictionary. Stigmatized. 哎，中文看看什么翻译最好。What is the translation? S-T-I-G-M-A, stigma. 把某人视为可耻的。Okay, now, okay, so if you have been so despised, you know, as a minority in America, now you became president. Does that mean affirmative action should stop? In other words, if we have this additional points for a lot of our Aborigines, right? If one day, Gao Jin-su-mei became our president, do you think we should end that? Saying, oh, you know, Yuan Zhuming can also be Taiwan's president. And I think she's the only one qualified to declare Taiwan independence. You know, really different from China. You know, we are Polynesians. 我们是 Polynesians 什么中文？太平洋岛群岛的啊 ，not China, right? Not, you know, mainland China. So she probably can qualify to do that. But when she became president, don't you think we should end our, you know, affirmative action program for Aborigines? Or if in China, I don't know whether China will happen to have, 壮族 became president. You know, 壮族怎么写？是这个很壮的壮吗？还是奖状的状？这个壮，还是这个壮？这个壮，壮族。Hey, you know, they are called minority, but do you know how many are there? 12 million. Half Taiwan. Okay, but that's a minority in China, the largest minority. Okay, but I don't think they're going to be the next president of China. So Obama, as a stigmatized minority, African American, being discriminated, now he became president. One, we can say, we can praise the affirmative action if it happened to be affirmative action care, or we can say maybe the program can end. Okay. The problem with that program having so controversial is it does not have a sunset clause. Like, you can always name saying, if in America higher education or in the workplace, if the minority representation has become corresponding to the general population in certain way, then, certain percentage, then the program can end. For example, if you find 100 medical doctors, 5 are African American, maybe that should be enough. Okay, but only 1 African American, which represent 12% of the population, but only 1, that might be wrong. But when you survey and 5, okay, that which means they might not like this profession. You cannot just push them into this profession. So those are some of the numbers that they never come up. So affirmative action continue to be controversial, and Supreme Court of the United States continue to decide on this issue even in the 21st century. They're still doing now. Okay. Earlier, a few years ago, they decided the program in Michigan. They said the undergraduate program using quota unconstitutional, but the graduate program is constitutional. Like, people say because minorities have difficult time getting into the graduate program, and graduate program is also very important. So race as a affirmative action program has been helped, but also create new tension. Okay. There were some people, white Caucasian Americans, filing suit all the way to the Supreme Court saying, I found out, getting my records, out of the 100 applicants, 20 should be accepted. I ranked 18, but you put people who have less qualification behind and in front of me, so they challenge. Okay, so those program, again, is going to be a big problem if they don't have a sunset clause. 中文叫什么？落日条款啊。Which is very important. In terms of the midterm, I just want to remind you, the most difficult part I find my students have is to remember those amendments. And you're going to be tested on those amendments. Constitutional amendment. You have to remember that the longest word, I'm going to test you on that longest word. Okay. Maybe you need to, read into something to see whether you can pronounce 80% right. There's a new software that you learn how to pronounce word, and they will say, 80分, 85分, anti-disestablishmentarianism. Remember that word? 还记得这个字吧? Anti-disestablishmentarianism. Okay, we're going to have that word. You're going to explain what is that? Anti-disestablishmentarianism. The longest word in American vocabulary. 我有给你们在好像是在什么 PowerPoint 上面有那个字。Okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in New Orleans to check the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans has a lot of 你知道那种什么以前那种脱衣舞是I remember when I went there 1984 to attend American Association for Political Science meeting. My 2 boys, one is only 2 years old, one is 4 years old. and we just walk on the streets with my wife, and suddenly kiss, disappear. Watching that, 实色性也. Look at two little boys.